Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Union Square in Manhattan. I'm Julie Ty. I'm president of the New York League of Conservation Voters, and we are members of the Congestion Pricing Now Coalition. We are fired up to be here today at long last to celebrate a major milestone in the road to congestion pricing here in New York City. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. Last week, the Federal Highway Administration provided the MTA with a letter of legal sufficiency, which is the most bureaucratic thing you could ever think of. Today, we found out that we have the finding of no significant impact in the final environmental assessment for the Central Business District tolling program, showing what we have long known: congestion pricing will not have a negative impact on the environment. Thank you so much. We're so excited about that. It has been more than a decade since Mayor Bloomberg first proposed congestion pricing in 2007, and 4 years ago, we were right here in this spot in March, so it was a little bit colder, right, calling for the legislature to pass this. It has been 4 years now since the state legislature passed congestion pricing, and in New York, going back to the days of Bloomberg, it is now old enough for congestion pricing to get its driver's license, although we know here in New York City we want them to take mass transit, right? Now, thanks to the hard work and perseverance of so many advocates and partners, and Governor Hochul and Jana Lieber and everybody at the MTA and all of our elected officials who never gave up, we will soon be able to move forward with a proven, effective program to reduce traffic congestion, improve air quality, and generate funding for upgrades and expansions to the public transit system that millions of riders rely on every single day. And we are so pleased to be here, joined by so many people. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot drive our way out of the climate crisis. We need fewer cars on the road. We need less greenhouse gas emissions coming from our transportation sector. We can do that by discouraging the use of automobiles in one of the most horribly congested areas in the country, and by ensuring that the MTA has the funds they need to expand and improve service. Congestion pricing delivers on both. Now I'm pleased to introduce our first speaker, my friend and colleague, Tom Wright, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Regional Plan Association, the nation's oldest independent metropolitan research, planning, and advocacy organization. Tom and the RPA have been leading advocates for congestion pricing for years, and we're excited to have him with us today. Tom.
Thank you, Julie. Thanks, everybody. Who's excited to see reduced traffic, better air quality, and a more reliable and expanded transit network? Because that's what we're here to talk about today. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for this historic event. For over 100 years at Regional Plan Association, we've worked to improve the quality of life of the tri-state region and its residents by preparing long-range plans that identify the policies and the investments that we need for a more prosperous, sustainable, and healthy metropolitan region. Ever since we built our metropolitan network of roads, bridges, and tunnels to bring people and goods into Manhattan, New York City has struggled with crushing traffic congestion, which pollutes the air we breathe, clogs our roads, damages our communities, and weakens our economy. This has only gotten worse since COVID, as more commuters switched to individual cars and e-commerce became more a part of our daily lives. In 1996, RPA released our third regional plan, which called for a new generation of transit investments and recommended that all drivers into the Central Business District pay a toll, a congestion fee, which would reduce traffic congestion and generate billions of dollars for mass transit. When we released our fourth regional plan in 2017, we doubled down on these recommendations, pointing out that in the intervening years, several of our global competitors had successfully implemented these programs and were reaping the benefits of cleaner air, less traffic congestion, safer streets, and yes, better transit. So let's be very clear about this. Congestion pricing has worked in every single global city that has implemented the policy, and it will work in New York City too. So now we are just months, not decades, away from actually getting congestion pricing done. And that's why I'm thrilled to be here celebrating a major milestone in the implementation of this plan. I want to thank everybody who's made this happen, our civic partners and supporters, the great team that's part of the coalition, our elected and public officials who have shown tremendous leadership on this issue. And especially, I think we need to give a shout out to both Governor Kathy Hochul and Mayor Eric Adams for their support for this policy, which is going to secure the future for generations, this landmark policy. So to make the official announcement of why we're here today, it's my great pleasure to introduce my good friend, the extraordinary CEO and chairman of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, who has done so much to shepherd this policy through in recent years, in addition to leading the MTA through COVID and helping us build a safer, cleaner, more sustainable and prosperous future. Jano Lieber.
So we're in the middle, we're at an important milestone in the federal environmental review process, but New Yorkers want to know, what does this mean? And the answer is less congestion, better air quality, safer streets, better transit. That's what this policy means. That's what congestion pricing is going to deliver. It's not that complicated. Whatever state you're from, it's not that complicated to understand. Why is this important? It's important for New York for all those reasons, but it's also important because New York leads. We see problems, we address problems. We don't wait for others. The coalition behind me, the pro-transit coalition, isn't just for transit, for air quality. They're the let's do something coalition. And what we're up against is the head in the sand coalition of people who say, let's not deal with our problems. Let's pretend climate change doesn't exist. Let's stand still like a bus in the middle of traffic in Midtown Manhattan. That's what we're up against. But we're not, that's not New York. New York leads. And I am so proud, I'm going to keep it short, but I am so proud to stand with elected officials and community organizations and activists who have made sure that coming out of COVID, we had the right priorities, that we're dealing with issues of equity in our city, that everybody can get to a job, that everybody can get to education, that people have opportunity because there's mass transit. It's the one thing that keeps New York affordable, mass transit. Congestion pricing is going to invest in people, and it's going to not invest in cars. It's going to protect people who are in our city from getting hit by cars, safer streets. It's going to make sure that kids in the Bronx don't have asthma at higher rates, better air quality. And it's going to make sure that as we move forward, that actually the people who have to come to the city in a vehicle actually there's less congestion, that you can move around, and that's important to our economy. Don't forget, what's congestion doing to us? Ambulances can't get to hospitals. Police can't get to crimes in progress. Fire trucks can't get to fires. We want to do something? Hell yes. We're going to do something about it. That's what congestion pricing is. So I'm looking forward. We are determined to fight through the remaining process. There's always more bureaucratic process, but let's not be confused. We're going to get there. And one way we're going to reduce congestion is when politicians from out of state stop driving to New York to hold press conferences, right? We're going to get there. God bless every one of these groups and activists who have helped to make this possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I am thrilled to introduce someone who is working hard every day to ensure that our streets are safer, our transportation sector is cleaner, and he's here today to talk about how congestion pricing will help address the city's transportation challenges. Please join me in welcoming DOT Commissioner Ydanis Rodriguez.
Thank you. In 2015, Manhattan Borough President Mike Levine controlled it here. Also, we were there passing a resolution together with all the advocates, being sure that the City Council of New York City took an official position supporting congestion price. We did it in 2015, passing the resolution. Here we are. But this is good policy. And that's why to have Will here, the person at DOT, together with Sharif at City Hall, they work so close with the MTA to be sure that we went over through the whole process, arriving this beautiful day, not only because of the weather, but it's also because climate change is real. We have to be responsible for us and for the future generation, and congestion price, as you heard from Chairman Llano, is so critical to continue expanding our mass transportation. On behalf of Mayor Eric Adams, we're here to say thank you to all the advocates. This is a great day to all New Yorkers, to everyone who lives in the Northeast region who will be benefit from congestion price. When I was a council member again, as a council member, chairman of the Transportation Committee, we passed a resolution. Congestion pricing will lead to a better New York City and a better region. Congestion pricing will improve our quality of life, speed up buses, make our streets safer, and our air cleaner. We must urgently address our climate crisis. The transportation sector is the second highest source of the city greenhouse gas emissions, largely due to vehicle emissions. Hoy nosotros estamos aquí para estar bien claro de que este proyecto de Congestion Price es necesario para la ciudad de Nueva York, para el estado, para toda la región. Es un día más de esperanza para nosotros saber que estamos haciendo todo lo posible para traer los recursos necesarios que necesita la MTA para seguir mejorando la transportación pública, pero también un día de nosotros asegurarnos de que podamos tener menos vehículos en las calles de Nueva York. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have someone who's been a tireless fighter for congestion pricing and has been instrumental in getting us to this point, helping us out in Congress, Congressman Jerry Nadler.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. I want to start by thanking our wonderful advocates for being here today, including the Regional Plan Association, Tri-State Transportation Campaign, Riders Alliance, Transportation Alternatives, the Environmental Defense Fund, and the New York League of Conservation Voters. It's because of their advocacy that we are on the cusp of implementing the first in the nation congestion pricing program, a program that will improve air quality, reduce traffic congestion, and provide much-needed funding to improve and expand our essential public transit system. I'm also proud to join here today with the MTA and its chairman and CEO, Janno Lieber. Under his leadership, the MTA fought for and will now implement congestion pricing and will finally begin to deal with congestion and pollution that affects neighborhoods all across the city, including the neighborhoods that I represent here in Manhattan, including right here in Union Square. In addition to Manhattan, congestion also negatively impacts low-income communities of color all across our city that have been historically forced into highway-adjacent neighborhoods that suffer from poor air quality, resulting in higher rates of asthma and respiratory illness. These communities in our city deserve better. That's why we are thrilled that New York is on the verge of implementing a congestion pricing program to improve air quality, reduce traffic congestion, and provide much-needed funding to improve and expand our essential public transit system. I also want to thank President Biden, Secretary Buttigieg, and U.S. DOT for their assistance and commitment to New York City in their approval of the environmental assessment and the finding of no significant impact and delivering congestion pricing for New York City. Congestion pricing will get more cars off our already crowded roads while generating over $1 billion in toll revenue annually, which is estimated that, when bonded by the MTA, will generate $15 billion for the current 5-year capital budget. $15 billion. This is urgently needed funding for our public transit system. In addition, reduced traffic from congestion pricing will also allow us to reimagine our streets, to create green space for parks, protected bike lanes, and dedicated bus lanes to make commute times faster and more efficient. The people of New York City have waited long enough. The time to move forward on congestion pricing is finally here. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Now we have another environmental champion, New York City Comptroller Brad Lander.
Thank you so much, Julie, and LCV, and RPA, and Tri-State, and Environmental Defense, and Riders Alliance, and this extraordinary TA, and this extraordinary community that have been fighting for this. I was proud to be there for this fight back in 2007 with several of you. We were at the Queens Museum when Mayor Bloomberg launched Plan YC and started the fight for congestion pricing. And we were here 4 years ago to relaunch it, and we did that resolution that Adonis mentioned. So we've been sticking with this for over 15 years now. You know, and I guess I do want to observe that while that has been a long fight, an awful lot of good things have actually happened in that time as well. When you think about what has opened up in terms of plaza space, in terms of open streets, in terms of cycling, in terms of city bike, the way that our streets became something that could save our restaurants during the pandemic, we have seen what's possible when we think forward about transit and transportation in our city. And despite the long fight, that is still what we are doing today with congestion pricing, because when we can use these resources and Jano can modernize that signal system, that's going to mean that we can move toward that time of 6-minute headways in our subway system, or even better on the major lines. It changes how you think about transit in the city. It's going to mean that it's possible, to get to a fully accessible subway system, which means that folks with disabilities, people in wheelchairs, parents with strollers will be able to access all of the subway stations in our city. That is a game changer in transit in our community. Congestion pricing is what will help make that happen. And then finally, we don't even know what, in many ways, the next steps forward in transit and transportation for New York City will be. You can't always see around corners to that new technology that's going to change how things are working, or that new idea that opens up possibility. But that's what makes New York, New York. You know, the work they did 100 years ago to build this subway system made it possible to build this extraordinary, inclusive, creative, entrepreneurial space. And what we are doing today by reducing congestion and making it possible to invest in the next generation of mass transit will make possible a thriving, diverse, inclusive, creative New York City for generations to come. Congratulations to everybody who's led this fight for so many years, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Comptroller Lander. Next up, we have the head of this here borough. We have Mark Levine, Borough President.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Julie. Welcome to the Borough of Manhattan, everybody. This is the place in America with the lowest rate of car ownership. Something like 80% of Manhattanites do not own cars. And yet, we are confronting some of the worst congestion anywhere on the planet, and it is hitting us hard. It is slowing down buses, because sometimes at peak hours, traffic's moving at something like walking speed. As Jano mentioned, it is slowing down emergency vehicle response times. It is harming our air quality. It is a drag on our economy. It puts us at physical risk. It is bad for our climate. And because this is a borough where 80% of residents do not own cars, we also are acutely aware of the ways we need more investment in mass transit. We know that most stations still are inaccessible, as Brad mentions, to people in wheelchairs and strollers and carrying suitcases. We know we have to upgrade the signal system because of how many delays this old system causes. We know we need to replace 50-year-old train cars. We need new buses that are all electric. And congestion pricing is our way of accomplishing all those things. It is our way to address these challenges on our streets and below ground. And to our friends in New Jersey, who seem to be holding press conferences and threatening lawsuits every single day with ever more venomous rhetoric, I don't remember them holding any press conferences to call for the repeal of the toll on the Jersey Turnpike, or to call for the repeal of the toll on the Garden State Parkway, entirely under New Jersey state control. Despite the fact that all over northern Jersey, far more people are coming into the central business district by mass transit than in private cars, I don't remember any of them holding press conferences or threatening lawsuits to improve the mass transit, which, again, the majority of their constituents are using on a daily basis. Yes. The fact is that when you improve mass transit, it is good for everybody, whether you are in New York or New Jersey. When you reduce congestion, it is good for everybody. yes, even drivers, this policy has been implemented and has succeeded around the world. It will succeed in New York. We are on the cusp of doing something really big. Let's do this, New York. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Mark. Next up, we have a champion in the state Senate, Brad Hoylman.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, League of Conservation Voters, RPA, our congressman, our borough president, our city transportation commissioner, the governor, the MTA, and I also want to thank my colleagues in the state legislature, Senate Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Speaker Carl Hastie, represented here by Assemblymember Bobby Carroll. We know that members of the state legislature took a very tough vote in support of congestion pricing. Let's give them a round of applause for that. Because they knew with congestion pricing, they would get safer streets, they would get cleaner air, they'd get more reliable mass transit. And that's what's important. And to the naysayers in New Jersey, you want cleaner air, safer streets, more reliable mass transit? Maybe you should consider congestion pricing too. And it's so appropriate that we're here at the climate countdown clock, because since we first passed congestion pricing, the Earth has warmed even more. Climate change is looming even greater as a threat to our planet. So I am so excited to launch congestion pricing. I'm so excited to hear from the public and the Traffic Mobility Review Board. I'm excited to make it such that New York has the best mass transit in the entire world. Thank you, New York. Let's get congestion pricing done. Who's excited about congestion pricing? Who's excited about safer streets? Who's excited about cleaner air? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And here's to another champion in Albany, Bobby Carroll, Assemblyman.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Julie. Thank you, Jano. Thank you to the Regional Planning Association. Thank you, Tri-State Transportation. I remember 4 years ago when myself and Senator Hoylman stood in the halls of the state capitol rallying to get this done in the state budget in March of 2019. On that day, we didn't know if we were getting it done, and we didn't know that we would get here today. And it is phenomenal that we have finally put in place the first congestion pricing plan in North America to make sure that our streets are safer, our air is cleaner, and that once and for all we have a direct revenue stream for the capital budget of the MTA. It would not happen if we did not have advocates and elected officials who had vision for a better New York, a New York that puts pedestrians and strap hangers over trucks and cars and taxis. And so now it is on the onus and the job of the Transportation Mobility Review Board to make sure that we have a congestion pricing plan that has few exceptions and make sure that every single truck, car, and passenger in a taxi or Uber pays this fee so that this plan works, that it's fully funded, and we have a better New York City. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and I do want to really shout out the fact that it is not always easy to pass policies, and congestion pricing was one of those that was difficult, but it was the right thing to do. So thank you so much for your leadership in Albany, to Brad and the whole Senate, to Bobby and the whole Assembly for doing what is right and for sticking with it, and we hope you continue to do that as some of your brethren try to put in bills to make it harder for people to get these investments. Next, to talk about the work of the MTA, the state and the federal government in moving this program forward, I'm pleased to hand the microphone over to Andrew Albert from the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA, which represents transit and commuter rail riders in the 12-county MTA region. Andrew.
Thank you. What an exciting day. Who would have thought that we would soon be getting the finding of no significant impact? Of course, we all know there will be a major significant impact: cleaner air, better mass transit, clearer streets. So It's sort of funny that it's no significant. It will have a major impact on our New York way of life, an impact that we need. It's going to provide so much important revenue to the MTA. You may have heard that the MTA recently settled with accessibility groups to make 95% of our 472 subway stations accessible by the year 2055. That's a great thing. That's billions of dollars. That's congestion pricing is going to help to do that. Congestion pricing will pay for additional extensions on, for instance, the 2nd Avenue line to East Harlem. Those folks have been waiting for a long time to get subway service. It will help pay for Metro North's New Haven Penn Access Plan to bring 4 New Bronx stations service that they didn't have and service directly to Penn Station. It will help pay for a brand new line, the Interborough Express, from the west side of Brooklyn all the way through Brooklyn, up through Glendale, Maspeth, all the way to Jackson Heights. So this is all really great stuff. It's also interesting because, I'm sorry, it's hard to read in this, but I just want to make sure. It's also going to allow, as you heard many of our previous speakers say, important emergency vehicles to get through our streets, not to mention our own buses, but ambulances, police, fire, sanitation. They're essential services. The MTA is an essential service. It's about time we got treated that way as well. Now, there will be some mitigation measures to help people adapt to congestion pricing. There will be more vegetation planted along roads that will help people breathe better. There will be more electric bus and bus charging stations. There will be filters in schools that border highways, just a host of things. There will be a lower charge on congestion pricing overnight rather than days. Taxis and for-hire vehicles will get charged once per day. I mean, there's a lot of things that have gone into the thinking of this that are going to make this palatable and make this such an important thing for New York. Now, all of this is going to be great for New Yorkers, but it's also going to benefit New Jersey residents. They also benefit from an improved MTA and for clearer streets if they're driving. Visitors from wherever, they're going to benefit from an improved MTA. This is just so important. And as I want to end, I want to thank the various folks that have really helped this. Obviously, Chair Lieber, our congressional delegation, our Senator Schumer and Gillibrand, Congressman Nadler and Goldman have been really out front in this. Obviously, we want to thank the Federal Highway Administration, Secretary Buttigieg, obviously Governor Hochul and Chair Lieber have just been so upfront in getting this done for us. And what this will mean will be more trains, more closely together, more safely. You're going to see improvements in the transit system on a weekly basis, I'm predicting. That's how important this program is. So this is all wonderful. Thank you all for coming out for this, and let's follow it through.
Great. Thank you so much, Andrew. Next up, we are joined by the Tri-State Transportation Campaign, which has produced countless reports and analysis and time and again demonstrated the necessity of congestion pricing for the entire region. To talk more about that, I'd like Jackie Cohen, Director of Climate and Equity Policy for the Tri-State Transportation Campaign, to come up.
Hi, everyone. So I was part of this fight 4 years ago to get congestion pricing to New York. A lot has obviously changed in our city and in our region since that time. You know, we survived a pandemic. We've seen, countless riders leave and then come back, and we're starting to really rebound that ridership, which is so important. One thing that has not changed in the 4 years since congestion pricing first passed is the need to address the climate crisis. Congestion pricing is more important than it's ever been. This finding of no significant impact and the EA are quite significant, right? It means that congestion pricing is out of the hands, the ball is out of the hands of the feds and back in New York's hands, and we can really move forward with implementation. And while we're not fully there yet, we're really excited to work with the MTA and see the commitments from the MTA, from the governor, to handle and mitigate air quality measures and pollution, particularly in places like the Bronx. So we're definitely going to hold you to that, to make sure that that funding and those programs are put in place. Now, the draft EA and environmental, I misspoke. The funding from congestion pricing, as you heard today, it's going to help modernize our subway system. It's going to put elevators in stations where there are none now and make our system more accessible. It's going to reduce traffic on our streets and make our streets safer for all those that live in New York. It's going to work to decarbonize bus depots and make buses electric to further benefit air quality and reduce emissions in the outer boroughs, not just in Manhattan, but across the 5 boroughs. This is also something that I think will be a national model for other cities and states to look at across the country, particularly in New Jersey, right? We've heard pushback from Congress members in New Jersey who have asked for the money to be sent to New Jersey. New Jersey Transit does not have any dedicated funding to support its transit network. And New Jersey residents deserve what New York City residents and New York State residents are getting. They deserve dedicated funding for their public transit. They deserve cleaner air and safer streets. So we're really excited to see this plan move forward. We're looking at legislators in states that we work at across the region to look at this as a national model and provide the same benefits for their residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Next up, speaking of New Jersey, we have Tyler Newcomb from Bike JC, who will talk about how congestion pricing will benefit both New York City and our neighbors across the river. Tyler, come on up.
Thank you. Like Julie said, my name is Tyler Newcomb. I'm a trustee of Bike JC and Safe Streets Jersey City, 2 of our local Safe and Complete Streets advocacy groups, and I'm also an organizer with the Turnpike Trap Coalition, which is opposing a highway widening pointed right at New York City. I'm here today to congratulate the advocates who have worked so hard to make congestion pricing get to this point, and to stand and say that I represent a lot of New Jersey constituents who are very much in favor of congestion pricing in the region. The negative impacts of pollution and traffic congestion in Manhattan are felt throughout the region. The benefits for congestion pricing are going to spread just as wide. For decades, northern New Jersey has been treated as a cut-through for suburban car commuters to get into Manhattan. Our air quality, our streets, and our street safety and our noise have suffered as a result. Meanwhile, in New Jersey, we have Governor Murphy, who's advocating for a $10.7 billion highway expansion right towards the Holland Tunnel. We have representatives like Gottheimer and Menendez who are hosting press conferences opposing congestion pricing with no consideration for the negative impacts that has on communities, the driving has on communities. Those representatives do not represent New Jersey constituents. Only 8% of New Jersey commuters get to Manhattan by car. 92% take public transit, like New Jersey Transit, the Path, and buses. It is an incredibly efficient use of space. Public transit is an incredibly efficient use of space, which is increasingly important in a city with a growing population and more desire for street eateries, outdoor recreation, and places to gather. The congestion pricing plan is extremely promising. And critically, from the New Jersey side, we need to ensure that buses are exempt from the charge. But with the imminent traffic and climate crisis we face, traffic violence and climate crises we face, it is necessary that congestion pricing move forward without delay. Thank you.
Thank you for standing up and saying what we all know. New Jersey will benefit also from congestion pricing. Our next speaker knows all too well this is a key tool in the fight against climate change. That's why we're thrilled to have New York and New Jersey State Director for the Environmental Defense Fund, Mary Barber.
Today is a win for the environment. Congestion pricing is now one step closer to relieving traffic congestion, reducing harmful transportation emissions, and improving transit through the metro area. This program is an essential part of our collective vision of a clean, sustainable, and efficient future in New York. Not only will the funds from congestion pricing modernize and upgrade our public transportation system, but the expanded and improved mitigation package will support New York's nation-leading efforts to electrify trucks and buses, further reducing emissions and improving health outcomes in New York's most vulnerable communities. I'm a New Jerseyan, and I support congestion pricing. As As you've heard, public transit is the main way that New Jersey residents like myself commute to Manhattan's Central Business District. 85% of people commuting to New Jersey use public transit to reach the Central Business District, and many then rely on the subways and buses to complete their trip. Environmental Defense Fund is proud to be a long member of this great coalition, Congestion Pricing Now, and applauds the work of our fellow organizations, the MTA, the governor, the mayor, our amazing elected officials who have worked tirelessly to move us closer to implementing the nation's first congestion pricing program, a model that is already successful in cities around the globe. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary. Congestion pricing is not just good environmental and transit policy, it's also good for business. To talk more about that, please welcome Sam Spicani from the REBNY. REBNY? Sam?
You're right.
There we go, sorry.
Thanks, Julie. Hey, everybody. As mentioned, I'm Sam Spicani with the Real Estate Board of New York, or REBNY. Congestion pricing is something REBNY's been really proud to support for years as part of this great coalition, and we're thrilled to be back here again as we keep on building momentum toward our shared goal. As my boss Jim Whalen might say, mass transit is like the circulatory system for New York City. And it's a system that it's not just vital to the 5 boroughs, because it also sustains the economic health of the entire region. So the city's real estate industry understands the importance of creating a new and sustainable revenue source for our mass transit infrastructure. And at the same time, we know how vital it is to keep improving our urban environment and making the city even more livable, a more livable place by reducing traffic and pollution. And that's why congestion pricing has always been a no-brainer for our group at REBNY, for so many others throughout New York. And of course, we're really excited about all the progress at the federal level. And here in New York, after years of advocacy, we were proud to be part of the coalition back in 2019 to get us passed in New York. We're nearing the home stretch, and we're really looking forward to seeing it through. So on behalf of REBNY, thanks again to everybody involved here, and let's make it happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sam. Now, I'm pleased to bring up Alex Matheson, who is the campaign director for Move New York, who really spearheaded our efforts in 2019 and has kept the campaign moving forward. Talk about the first of the nation concept. Let's go here, Alex.
I'm embarrassed to say I've been actually working on it since 2010. It was longer than I expected to get this done, longer than I budgeted. Wow. Who would have thought it would take 50 plus years for this highly innovative, Nobel Prize winning, and miserably named program to be passed? It only took 3 mayors, starting with Lindsay, Koch, and Bloomberg, 2 governors, and 1 administration, plus a 13-year grassroots campaign led by a savvy and determined group of advocates and generously funded, very importantly, by a stalwart group of foundations and donors, plus real leadership at the MTA and among the rank and file of the New York State Legislature to get it done. As we begin the roughly 11-month countdown to early next year when the new system is turned on and New Yorkers begin to reap the benefits of less traffic, safer streets, cleaner air, and better transit, let's remind ourselves of why congestion pricing and other programs like it are so important to the future of the planet. The core idea behind congestion pricing, or any program that uses fees to internalize previously externalized cost, okay, that's a little wonky, is to increase the cost of and thus discourage behavior by companies or individuals that causes harm to the rest of society, and to price those bads according to the degree of harm. That's why we'll see higher tolls during rush hour and low tolls in the middle of the night when there's no traffic. Every time a driver chooses to drive into New York's congested Central Business District, he's costing the city upwards of $120 worth of damage in the form of asthma-causing and climate-changing emissions, an increased chance of vehicle crashes that maim or kill pedestrians, bicyclists, or passengers, more wear and tear on our roads and bridges, and a combined $20 billion in lost economic activity due to the delays across the New York metro region. So even with a peak toll of $15 or $20, which is where we should land if the program is to be truly effective, drivers should take comfort knowing we're only paying a fraction of the actual costs we're imposing on the city. Cigarette taxes are a well-known example of pricing harmful behavior to benefit society at large, and the one we need most if we're serious about halting climate change is a carbon tax, and one that's high enough to compel both fossil fuel producers and consumers to accelerate our switch to renewable energy. That's why the federal approval of congestion pricing is a big, big deal. With congestion pricing's approval and other recent laws designed to get us off fossil fuels, New York is leading the nation. As we speak, campaigns are underway in a dozen other U.S. cities to copy New York and adopt some form of congestion pricing. But if New York is going to be the model for this innovative program, we must do it right. That's why we need to keep it simple and avoid any further exemptions that will only serve to unfairly make the toll more expensive for everyone else. While this victory has many mothers and fathers, we are especially grateful to Mayor Bloomberg for getting the ball rolling, to the Biden administration for resurrecting the federal review process, to Governors Cuomo and Hochul for getting the state behind it and across the finish line, and especially to Jano Lieber and his excellent team at the MTA for doing an outstanding job managing the highly complex and exhaustive environmental review process, the completion of which brings us here today. Less than a year, everybody. The countdown begins.
Thank you. Now, the funds generated from congestion pricing are critical to improving and expanding public transit, as well as access to bike lanes and providing for more open streets. To talk more about that, please welcome the Executive Director of Transportation Alternatives, Danny Harris.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Today we're here to talk about options. If you live in Bergen County, you deserve an extra 20 minutes every day to be home with your kids. If you live in Southeast Queens, you deserve the $10,000 a year you're paying in car-related payments to maybe put towards a house. The current system is broken, and to believe that freedom means only to have a car to get around and to be stuck in endless traffic is a failure. Today, this coalition led by these brave leaders are here to present options to New Yorkers and those who have the wonderful privilege of spending their days here, whether they're to work or they're to visit. We stand at an incredible opportunity that shows what's possible, between our DOT and our MTA. The 14th Street used to be one of the slowest buses in the city, which we have the slowest buses in the nation. Now it's one of the fastest. We stand here and we can actually speak. You can hear people talking, you can hear the birds. This is an opportunity of what's possible all across the city. And it starts with congestion pricing, which is giving people options. Again, if you live in a place where a car is the only way you have to get around, your leaders have failed you. This is options, and these are the leaders who are going to deliver it to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danny. Now to talk about how congestion pricing will make our streets safer for drivers, bikers, and pedestrians alike, please welcome Families for Safe Streets, Hindi Schechter.
It's a beautiful sunny day, and we have beautiful sunny news from Washington. But unfortunately, as the representative for Families for Safe Streets, an organization of people who have lost loved ones from traffic crashes or been injured in traffic crashes, I have some bad news for you. We are in the middle of an epidemic of crashes. Congestion pricing is one way of limiting the death and injury toll. At a community board meeting once, a person said to me, "Don't talk about death, it's silly." A few weeks later, we had another fatality on the road. I'm a driver, and I am not a person who says no cars ever in New York. But I do say people have to be rational about when they bring cars into Manhattan. Right now, people are using cars when they could travel for less money and more quickly by subway, bike, or the 2 feet. We need to give people incentives to rationalize their use of cars. Congestion pricing does that. So let us say thank you to all those who have brought us so far. But let us also demand from those here and from every person with power quick implementation to limit the death toll of 24 and no unnecessary exemptions that will gut the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We've been joined by a champion from Brooklyn, Councilmember Lincoln Ressler.
Thank you, Julie. It has been decades that we have been organizing and fighting for congestion pricing in New York City. Because congestion pricing is good for our neighborhoods and safety on our streets. It is good for our environment and driving down our carbon emissions. And it is great for our mass transit system. I really want to thank Chair Lieber for his leadership and the leadership of the MTA in getting us this far, in securing the federal approvals we need. I want to thank my friends in Albany who voted for this, who fought for this. And I want to thank all of you who have been organizing day in and day out over the years to get us this far. We are not there yet. And we need to see congestion pricing implemented as swiftly as possible with minimal exemptions. And the thing that's really important for us in Brooklyn, we need to have equal tolling across the different entries. So whether you're coming in at the Battery Tunnel or across one of our bridges, it needs to be at the same price point so that we are ensuring that traffic is spreading equally across our neighborhoods. Thank you for the clap on that one. I see there's a Brooklyn guy in the back. We appreciate you. It's this simple. Over 30% of the emissions in New York City come from our transit, our cars and our trucks. And if we are going to achieve our climate goals, we need to start getting people out of their cars and into buses and trains. But our mass transit system needs more sustainable revenue streams, and congestion pricing is just that. It is a way for us to ensure that we achieve the vision of 6-minute service, that we have safe and reliable transit in every neighborhood, every day of the week, morning and night. Our mass transit system is what makes New York City great, and congestion pricing is going to fund it long term. So let's make this happen. And New Jersey, you know what we feel about y'all. So.
Listen, we don't mind New Jersey. We just want them to take mass transit to get here. Congestion pricing, we've already heard, is going to give us an opportunity to reimagine and repurpose how we use our streets. To talk more about that, please join me in welcoming Jackson Shabbat, who is the Director of Advocacy for Open Plans.
Good morning, everyone. I know I, for one, did not put on sunscreen this morning and the sun is hot, so I will be incredibly brief. But before I begin, what do we want? When do we want it? Now! Exactly that. We're on the cusp of congestion pricing, and we need it now. As you've heard from other speakers this morning, we need it with few exemptions. We need a full program that will fully fund the MTA's capital budget. We need it now. Now is an important word here. We are also amidst a traffic violence epidemic, as you've heard from other speakers today. This year alone has been incredibly violent, incredibly dangerous for people walking, biking, and as well, that means they're probably taking the bus or public transportation otherwise. This year, we've lost so many children already in many parts of the city. We need safety. We need public space. We need efficient transit. And as other speakers have pointed out, we need it to be giving people options across the city. Union Square, where we stand today, amongst the 14th Street busway, University Place, which has traffic calming, Broadway Vision just up the way, is a perfect ecosystem of all of this. And we need this across Manhattan. We need this across the city. And we need it now. Thank you, everyone.
Now, there's no one better than our next speaker to talk about how congestion pricing can improve and expand transit, especially for lower-income New Yorkers. Please welcome Dana Dennis, who is from the Riders Alliance.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dana Dennis. I'm a senior organizer with the Riders Alliance. This is a great day, and I'm going to line up some things on why. I know everyone's went through some of the positives, but I really want to make them shine. I joined the congestion pricing fight in 2018. I've been fighting for transit as it is for 9 years. And for me, it's really important that I believe in a policy, I understand it, and more so I can go back and represent it in my community, Black and brown community. I'm from Central Brooklyn. I'm born and raised in this city. I've been taking transit all my life. I now live in New Jersey because of another issue, gentrification and lack of affordable housing, but we will not go there. But I'm priced out, so I'm in East Orange, and that's fine. I commuted in this morning, took the path, I took a little bit of New Jersey Transit. Governor Murphy, please work on the local buses in New Jersey. That's what you can do for me, please. Anyway, that's another story. But I really want to thank a lot of people. Pedro, George, all of the Riders Alliance volunteers here, Alex Matheson, Assembly Member Bobby Carroll, because you were like one of the first to hop on it. We've had many conversations, even just recently. And all of the legislators in Albany. Why? Because we were going back and forth. From an advocate point of view, I mean, I had months where I'd been in Albany 6 times. I think at that time I was carrying my first son. I was like, I am exhausted. I was hitting the trains. We were meeting with any and every elected official that we could, and it was a hard lift. It was a hard lift. It was not easy. You had to explain to them, how is this going to benefit my district, right? Because this is seen as a policy that is only for Manhattan. It looks at, something that may be, and we're going to be real, systematic racism does play out in transit spaces. I know that as a transit advocate. So that's what congestion pricing looked like to the rider in Bed-Stuy, in Parkchester, in Queens, right? Like, these are the folks in South Jamaica. They needed to know, how does this and they still need to know. So I have a charge for everyone here, for all of us on the positive side, because we heard we got some naysayers, some haters around congestion pricing, but we will not give them any play today. For all of us on this side of the folks, like the ones that believe in this policy, that understand that this is a great thing. This is a great thing, and it will happen. It is happening. We fought for it. For all of us, my charge to you is continue to have conversations around all of the great things that we're going to get. We're going to get improved signal systems. We're going to get dedicated revenue to the MTA. We are going to get more elevators, more escalators. We are going to move buses in the outer boroughs. We are going to make sure that transit works for the most marginalized community. Because let me tell you, I fight for transit, and I want it to be good for everybody here, but we have to highlight the low-income rider, the black and brown rider, the immigrant rider, the rider that waits for the bus for 45 minutes in the rain and the snow, the single mother with her baby stroller and she's making it work, that person that's stocking our grocery stores at 4 a.m. in the morning. Those are the folks that we have to make congestion pricing work for. And how we do that is we make sure that the money is dedicated to improving our transit system so that it works for them and then it works for our entire city. Thank you.
Thank you. Congestion pricing now. Congestion pricing now. So before we conclude, and I am your last speaker, so I'm sure you're all relieved to hear that, it's important that we take stock of this moment and acknowledge the urgency of the climate crisis, as so many have done before. It's the second leading source of greenhouse gas emissions in our state and in our city. We need to reduce unnecessary traffic and improve the entire MTA system. That means the subways, the buses, the commuter rails, all of it. They are critical for us to achieving our climate goals. We have 2 million New Yorkers who live or work near a congested roadway. Congestion not only harms our environment and slows traffic, but it increases air pollution and it causes a major drag on public health. 1 in 10 children in New York State have asthma, and that number jumps to an appalling 1 in 4 for people in low-income communities and communities of color in the city. Asthma is not only an acute health issue, it's the leading cause of school absences. For those children, that's a lost opportunity. The consequences of air pollution will reverberate throughout their lifetime, and that needs to stop. One of the things congestion pricing will pay for is an asthma center in the Bronx. We're very excited about that, right? And let me be clear, this is not an open question. It has been asked and answered. Congestion pricing will reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It will improve air quality. It will improve public health. In London, traffic decreased 15% and emissions decreased by nearly 20%. In Stockholm, traffic decreased by 22% and asthma rates dropped by 50%. Now, wouldn't that be a breath of fresh air for New York's children? So despite the overwhelming benefits of congestion pricing, we still hear from opposition. We've talked about that a lot today. The majority of commuters from the surrounding area come into Manhattan via public transit, not by car. So to those who say this policy will harm regional commuters and low-income communities, I say it's time to re-examine the issue and understand that those are exactly the people who stand to benefit under congestion pricing. So thank you again to all the advocates who are here today, who worked to make this happen, to all of our elected officials who fought and stood up for a difficult policy in Albany, to Governor Hochul for seeing this through, for Commissioner Adonis Rodriguez for supporting this with Mayor Adams, for Jano Lieber for getting this done. Thank you very much.